At our 10th anniversary gala, just as I was about to go on stage to propose, my girlfriend's childhood friend rushed up first, asking her to marry him. Everyone assumed she would refuse. After all, I was her official boyfriend of 10 years. But with a face full of happiness, she took her friend Ethan Moore's hand and said, "Ethan's family is pressuring him to get married. As his good friend, of course I have to help him." In that moment, I didn't get jealous or start a fight. I just quietly left and agreed to the arranged marriage my parents had planned for me. I never expected that on my wedding day my route would take me right past the hotel where she was getting married. Unsettled, she instructed her bridesmaid, "Where's Sincere Clark? Have security keep a close eye on him. Don't let him come here and crash the wedding." Just then, another bridesmaid said awkwardly, "Didn't you see? Sincere is getting married today too. His wedding motorcade just went by." After my girlfriend, Victoria Payne, publicly accepted her childhood friend's proposal, I said nothing. I just turned around and walked out of the banquet hall. Standing by the roadside, I made a call to my mother. "Mom, I'll agree to the marriage Dad arranged." My mom was shocked, immediately asking what had happened between Victoria and me. She knew better than anyone how much I'd loved Victoria over the years to be with her. I, who had always been a dutiful son, defied my father for the first time, refusing a business alliance marriage. Just a little while ago, my dad had tested the waters again, mentioning that Miss Grant was still single and asking if I was interested. I still refused. I even spent a fortune planning this proposal, only to have it end with her accepting someone else's. The late autumn wind was cold, and my voice was a little hoarse. "If the other party agrees, let's set the wedding for 3 days from now." 3 days was enough time for me to make a clean break with the past. Just as I hailed a rideshare to go home, a red Maserati shot up from behind and stopped beside me. After 2 short honks, the window rolled down. Victoria Payne raised an eyebrow at me. "Get in." I instinctively glanced at the passenger seat. Ethan wasn't there. Every time Victoria picked me up, that seat had always belonged to Ethan. Before I could speak, Victoria looked me over with a pitying gaze, her tone uncharacteristically gentle. "I know you were wrong tonight, but you didn't embarrass Eth this time. You've matured a lot. Look what this is." She suddenly opened her hand, revealing a diamond ring. She smiled coquettishly. "You were going to propose with this tonight. How could you be so careless and leave it in the banquet hall? I'm officially accepting now. As soon as the wedding with Eth is over, we'll go get our marriage license." Looking at her condescending posture, I felt nothing but irony. This was Victoria's usual trick with me. Give a slap, then offer a sweet treat. She knew everything. She knew how much effort I had poured into planning this gala and that I had invited many friends and family to witness the proposal. But when Ethan beat me to it, she readily accepted, completely ignoring me, her boyfriend. It was only then that I understood my 10 years of deep love and devotion were worthless in the face of her childhood friend, Ethan. But what she didn't know was that I was the one who threw that ring away, and I had no intention of keeping this relationship either. "Don't bother. I've already called a car. It'll be here soon," I said flatly. Victoria's tone turned displeased. "That's enough. I'm giving you a way out, so why are you being so stubborn? Hurry up." She honked impatiently, urging me to get in. Faced with Victoria's usual domineering attitude, I no longer submitted with nervous obedience as I had in the past. I just stood my ground, my expression calm. Victoria's face immediately darkened. "Sincere, I've already promised to marry you after Ethan's wedding. What more do you want?" she said coldly. Then, in a disappointed tone, she added, "I never thought you could be so narrow-minded. If you were half as sweet as Eth, I wouldn't have agreed to help him today. I would have married you long ago. Yes, we had been in love for 10 years, and I had proposed countless times, but every time she found an excuse, saying marriage was sacred and she wanted to be fully prepared. And now, all it took was one word from Ethan, and she forgot all about that, willingly helping him fulfill his wish. In her eyes, Ethan's needs always came before mine. When I was sick, she would leave me to go see a movie with Ethan. On my birthday, she would disappear for the whole day just because Ethan was in a bad mood and she had to keep him company. Back then, I kept telling myself that we had 10 years of history, that I had to hold a place in her heart. But now, I finally understood. You can't warm a stone. I didn't want to argue with her. "Ethan is so great." "You're right, you're more suited to marrying him," I said quietly. Victoria stared at my face, seeming to see through my emotions. A cold sneer tugged at her lips. It's good you have some self-awareness. It's still early. You can wait here if you want. Anyway, Ethan and I are getting married soon, so we're going to go pick out a wedding dress." She deliberately emphasized the words getting married. In the past, I would have been hurt and anxious begging her not to go see Ethan. But now my heart just felt numb. Let her go. Immediately after, Victoria called Ethan. Less than 2 minutes later, Ethan came jogging over. "Eth, get in. We're going to pick out a wedding dress," Victoria said with a smirk, her eyes fixed on me. I ignored her, checking the app for my rideshare. It was still a mile away. Just then, Ethan looked at me apologetically. "Big Y, I'm really sorry. Today wasn't intentional. It's just that my family is pushing for marriage, and I really—" Victoria cut him off. "Eth, ignore him, get in the car, let's go." The next moment, Ethan was in the passenger seat, flashing me a provocative grin. The car sped away. I stood there, watching them disappear, feeling an emptiness inside, but also a sense of liberation. "Victoria, we're finally over." On the way back, my mind kept flashing through memories of my time with Victoria. I remembered how my dad had broken my leg when I refused the arranged marriage. Victoria had held me, crying her heart out. She said she would never leave me, and I swore I would love her forever. But how did two people who were once so in love end up here? That was a question I would probably never have an answer to. Just then, my mom called. Miss Grant had agreed to get married in 3 days and wanted to meet me now. In the past, Victoria had said that to make each other feel secure, neither of us could meet someone of the opposite sex alone. At the time, I thought it was her way of being possessive, and for 10 years, I strictly followed that rule. I never regretted it, even when it meant offending some female clients and losing millions of dollars in business. It wasn't until I discovered that she and Ethan frequently met in private that I realized I was the only one honoring that promise. This time, I didn't refuse. I agreed to meet at the Westwood Mall in half an hour. When I arrived, Miss Grant sent a message saying she was stuck in traffic and would be a little late. I replied that there was no rush and decided to walk around nearby. Unexpectedly, I passed by a bridal shop. As I turned, I saw Victoria through the glass, walking out in a wedding gown. I froze, watching the scene from a distance, a strange chill creeping into my heart. The next moment, as if sensing my presence, Victoria looked in my direction. Our eyes met. A strange expression flickered across her face, her eyes darting around for a second. She quickly walked out and stood before me, asking with a superior air, "Learned your lesson?" I frowned, looking at her in confusion. Victoria, however, looked as if she had me all figured out. "Still pretending? Seeing me in a wedding dress for another man must have sent your jealousy through the roof," she said smugly. "You talk tough, but you still followed me here, didn't you?" I knew she thought I was here to win her back. "You're mistaken," I said calmly. "I'm waiting for a friend." "Waiting for a friend? You could at least come up with a better excuse. Fine, come inside with me. At worst, you can pick out a suit too, for when we get married later." Victoria grabbed my arm to pull me into the bridal shop, but I pushed her hand away. "That won't be necessary," I said, cutting her off. I rarely refused her, and I had never once shaken off her hand. She looked at me in disbelief. Victoria glared at me, annoyed. "Sincere, I haven't even blamed you for following us, and now you're giving me an attitude?" Just then, Ethan, dressed in a groom's suit, stepped between us and hastily started taking off his jacket. "Big Y, I know you must still be upset, right? Don't blame Vicky. I won't be the groom. Here, I'll give the suit back to you." He frantically tried to shove the suit at me. In the scuffle, he intentionally threw himself backward, crying out in pain. "Big Y, how could you—" Seeing this, Victoria rushed over and shoved me hard. I stumbled into a lamppost and fell heavily to the ground with a grunt, my hand immediately turning blue. Victoria's expression changed for a second, but it quickly hardened again as she snapped at me. "Sincere, that's enough. Even if you're angry, you can't take it out on Eth. I was the one who agreed to this. If you have a problem, take it up with me." My hand was trembling with pain, and I was in no mood to argue. But Victoria helped Ethan up and pointed at me, commanding loudly, "Apologize to Eth right now," before I could speak. A fashionable, slender young woman suddenly walked over and interjected. "Apologize?" He clearly fell on purpose with that. She held up her phone where she had recorded the subtle movement of Ethan faking his fall. Ethan's face paled. He quickly tried to explain, "Vicky, I just—" Victoria didn't even look at the phone. She turned to me and demanded, "Who is she?" "I'm Sincere's fiancée." It was only then that I realized she was the woman from the arranged marriage, Serafina Grant. Countless times, for Victoria's sake, I had repeatedly rejected the marriage proposal from the Grant family, causing Serafina to lose face in our social circle. But now, the woman I loved had attacked me for another man, while the one defending me was the fiancé I had constantly criticized and refused to marry. The irony was not lost on me. Victoria's eyes darted between Serafina and me. Soon, as if she understood something, she sneered. "Sincere, you actually hired an actress to make me jealous? Let me tell you, no matter what tricks you pull, I am going through with this wedding with Eth, and no one can stop it with that." She shot a disdainful glance at Serafina's hand on my arm, then turned and left with Ethan. Serafina wanted to explain further, but I stopped her and shook my head. The moment Victoria pushed me aside to protect Ethan, I clearly realized that whatever she thought no longer mattered to me. "Let's go get something to eat first," I said. But Serafina shook her head. "No, your hand is injured. We're going to the hospital to get it treated first." I was about to say it was unnecessary, but she stubbornly pulled me into her car and started driving toward the hospital. Watching her carefully ask the doctor about aftercare instructions, I couldn't help but think of last month. I was at home with a high fever and called Victoria. She said she would be right back to take me to the hospital, but I waited until midnight and she never came. I had to call an ambulance myself to barely make it through. Later, I saw on Ethan's social media feed that he had gotten a paper cut that day, and she had spent the entire day with him. It was after 10 at night when I parted ways with Serafina. I didn't go back to the home I shared with Victoria, but to my old bachelor apartment instead. As soon as I walked in, I saw Victoria sitting on the sofa, looking at me coldly. Her voice was laced with sarcasm. Well, why didn't you bring your fiancé back with you?" I didn't answer her, just quietly changed my shoes. Victoria stared at me. After a long moment, she said lightly, "I'll let the whole hiring an actress thing slide this time, but don't let it happen again. I know you're not happy about tonight, but this is just to help him deal with his family. I told you, we'll get our marriage license 3 days from now, after the wedding. If you don't believe me, I cut her off flatly. "I need to rest. If there's nothing else, you should go home." Victoria was about to explode with anger, but in the next second, her tone shifted. "I'm sleeping here tonight. I didn't want to argue. Suit yourself." I turned to go to my room. Just as I was about to close the door, Victoria suddenly came over and blocked it, staring at me. "You're going to sleep in a separate room?" I couldn't even be bothered to find an excuse anymore. I just pushed her aside and shut the door. The next second, I heard the sound of things smashing outside. Victoria's shrill voice rang out. "Is this never going to end, just because of one fake ceremony? When we were picking out the dress today, I told you to come in and pick a suit, but you refused. If you don't come out, I'll wait all night. Let's see how long you can stand it." I ignored her shouting, silently put in my earplugs and went to sleep. I don't know how long I slept before I was woken up by a message from Ethan. He had sent me several photos. It was him in a hospital bed with an IV drip, and Victoria by his side, watching over him all night. He added a taunt, "Sincere. So what if you dated Vicky for 10 years? All it took was one word from me, and she came running to my side. In the past, I would have immediately called her to demand an explanation. But now, I couldn't be bothered with his childish tactics. With my sleep already disturbed, I decided to go to Victoria's place, pack up all my belongings, and move them back to my apartment. When I got home, I was coordinating the next day's wedding procession when there was a sudden knock at the door. Victoria and Ethan, who should have been busy with their own wedding preparations, were standing at my doorstep. The moment she saw me, Victoria's smiling face, which she had been showing Ethan, turned serious. "Eth and I are getting married tomorrow. You stay home and behave. Don't go looking for trouble, you hear me?" I felt a surge of irony. Tomorrow was my wedding day too. Of course I wouldn't be going to hers. You're overthinking it. But Victoria stared at me. "Don't be stubborn now, only to show up tomorrow and make a fool of yourself. This wedding is just a ceremony. Eth and I have spent the last few days putting a lot of effort into this. You absolutely cannot let our hard work go to waste." Just then Ethan also pleaded with me. "Big Y, this wedding is just to fulfill my family's wish. Don't worry, when you two get married, I'll definitely give you a big gift. So please, just let this go." I was still busy finalizing the timing for picking up my bride. "I understand," I said blandly. "If there's nothing else, I have to get back to it." "Wait a minute." Victoria suddenly stepped in front of me, lowering her voice. I don't want to fight with you in front of Eth. After tomorrow you will move your things back immediately. And don't try to test me with these games. I'm not falling for it." Without giving me a chance to reply, she took Ethan's arm and left. I just shook my head, turned around, and went back inside to continue planning my wedding. The next morning I put on my groom's suit and set off with the wedding motorcade. On the way, we passed a hotel decorated with a red carpet and celebratory banners. I took a second look and saw the banner read, "Congratulations to the groom, Ethan Moore, and the bride, Victoria Payne, on your happy wedding." I couldn't help but feel a bit emotional. What a coincidence that I would pass Victoria's wedding hotel on my way to pick up my own bride. I had always thought I would be the one to marry her in the end, but I never imagined that on the very same day she would marry another man, and I would marry another woman. Remembering that my bride was waiting, I didn't dwell on it. I stepped on the gas and drove on. At the same time, in a dressing room on the second floor of the hotel, Victoria watched through the window as the motorcade sped past. She felt a sense of unease. She called me, but for the first time, I, who always answered her calls instantly, didn't pick up. After a moment's thought, she called over a bridesmaid. "Go tell security to guard the doors. Don't let Sincere get in. We don't want him causing scene." Just then, another bridesmaid stood up in surprise, pointing at the window. "Vicky, didn't you see that just now? Sincere is getting married today too. His wedding motorcade just passed." Victoria froze for a second, then shot up and looked out the window. Chapter 2. What did you say? The motorcade that just passed it was Sincere's wedding motorcade? Victoria asked in disbelief, her face a mask of shock. The bridesmaid nodded hesitantly. "Weren't you worried he would come crash the wedding?" "Well, now you don't have to be," she said weakly. Before she could finish, Victoria's voice rose sharply. "Give me your phone." The bridesmaid quickly handed it over, and Victoria began dialing my number again and again. Meanwhile, I had arrived smoothly at the hotel to pick up my bride. Seeing Serafina sitting on the bed in her wedding gown, looking shy, a subtle warmth stirred in my heart. Just as I was about to walk over, my best man came up to me anxiously, holding my phone. "Sincere, your phone has been ringing off the hook. It might be something urgent." I took it and glanced at the screen. It was Victoria. Shouldn't she be happily celebrating her wedding with Ethan right now? Why was she calling me? Just then, Serafina gestured for everyone else to leave the room. "Go ahead and take it," she said softly. "I don't mind." Victoria's calls were relentless, as if she would keep calling until I answered. I gave Serafina an apologetic nod and answered. Victoria's shrill voice instantly pierced my eardrum. "Sincere, where are you? Why aren't you answering my calls?" Say something. I rubbed my aching ear. "I'm getting married," I said calmly. I could hear her ragged breathing on the other end, followed by her frantic voice. "Who gave you permission, Sincere? I'm telling you. Stop the wedding right now. Immediately, do you hear me? Otherwise, you can forget about me ever forgiving you." A sense of mockery washed over me at her usual commands. "My marriage," I said, "is not for you to command. Of course, your wedding is your own choice as well. She could choose to marry Ethan. Why would she think I would be stupid enough to wait for her? That unequal relationship was long over." Victoria seemed shocked that I would speak to her this way. Her voice started to tremble, but her tone was still demanding. "Sincere, you have some nerve. Don't you regret this?" With that, she hung up. Before she did, I heard a bridesmaid in the background trying to reason with her. "Vicky, maybe you should go to Sincere's wedding. Your marriage to Ethan is just an act, but Sincere is—" He wouldn't dare. Victoria's sharp refusal was the last thing I heard before the line went dead. After a moment of silence in the room, Serafina looked at me with a complex expression. "If you want to go to her, I won't stop you." I shook my head. Now that I had made the decision to get married, there was no future for Victoria and me. The wedding ceremony continued. It was evening by the time everything was finally over. In the car on the way to our new home, Serafina suggested I take a nap, worried I was too tired. But my mind was crystal clear. "Serafina, why did you agree to this arranged marriage with me?" I started the conversation. This was something I had been wanting to know. Business marriages were for mutual benefit, and the Grant family could have found a more suitable partner than my family. Yet Serafina had remained unmarried until now. Although it seemed unlikely, I couldn't help but wonder if Serafina had been waiting for me. Serafina's expression immediately became a little unnatural, and a faint blush crept up her cheeks. "Why are you asking that?" "Just curious." Watching her reaction, I felt even more certain there was a secret I didn't know. Serafina turned her face away, her eyes lowered. 12 years ago, you helped me out of a difficult situation, she said softly. 12 years ago. I narrowed my eyes, trying hard to remember, but I couldn't recall any memory of her. Serafina explained gently, I didn't look like this back then. I was sick, and my appearance and weight always made me a target for ridicule. At that party, everyone was laughing at me. The other debutantes pushed me into a champagne tower, and I was completely humiliated. No one helped me, except you. As she spoke, the memories slowly came back to me. The Serafina from back then was chubby and short, with a sickly, listless air about her, like a lonely, ugly duckling in the corner, and people had dragged her out just to laugh at her. I couldn't stand it, so I helped her up and took her to the hospital. At the time, she looked at me with tear-filled, pitiful eyes. Big brother, I'm going to marry you when I grow up. I didn't think much of it then. I never imagined she would remember those words for so many years. I'm sorry. I was the one who initiated the marriage proposal, Serafina confessed, telling me the whole truth. She looked at me worriedly, afraid I would be angry with her. If this were the past, I would have been furious, feeling like it was all a manipulation. But now, knowing she was willing to wait over a decade for me, and that she had never once tried to interfere in my relationship with Victoria, how could I possibly blame her? From now on, we'll build a good life together. Consider it me making it up to you, I said gently. Serafina's eyes widened in surprise, a look of joyful disbelief flashing across her beautiful face. I smiled back. After we returned to our new home, it was just the two of us, and we were about to face our wedding night. I wasn't really ready for it. I just said I was going to take a shower first, temporarily escaping the awkward situation. But when I came out of the bathroom, Serafina was staring at her phone, her brow furrowed in anger. What's wrong? I walked over and saw Victoria's post on her social media feed. In a room decorated for a wedding, she was sitting on a large wedding bed in a traditional gown with Ethan, who was dressed as the groom. They were holding their faces close, making a heart shape with their hands. There were other photos of them linking arms to drink champagne and a kiss on the forehead. The caption read, "Our wedding night, a moment to remember." She had specifically tagged me. Underneath, there were many likes and comments congratulating the newlyweds. Serafina frowned. She tagged you on purpose. She clearly wants to humiliate you. But I shook my head. I knew exactly what Victoria was doing. She was provoking me. I had defied her command, and this post was her way of getting back at me. Tagging me meant she was furious, but since I had gone through with my wedding, I had no intention of making peace. I liked the post and commented, "Same to you." She got married. I got married. It was a mutual joy. After commenting, I put down the phone, but then I didn't know how to diffuse the awkwardness of what was supposed to happen next. Serafina, ever so understanding, said, "I won't force you. When you're ready to accept me, I'll be here." With that, she went to the guest room to sleep. I felt an indescribable emotion. This feeling of being considered, of being cared for, I hadn't experienced it in a very, very long time. Victoria had always been domineering, never caring about my feelings. I had to obey her unconditionally. Otherwise, she would throw a tantrum. Even when she was wrong, I couldn't say a word. But now I knew, a healthy relationship is one between equals. In the middle of the night, I was suddenly woken by a phone call. It was Victoria's best friend, Zoe Adams. "Sincere, what the hell are you doing? Vicky is about to spend her wedding night with Ethan, and you're not even worried. Get over here, now you know Ethan has a thing for Vicky. What if they turn this fake marriage into a real one? You'll lose your chance for good." I found this strange. Zoe had never liked me and always tried to set Victoria up with Ethan. Why was she suddenly so concerned about us? It was obvious who was behind this. As Victoria's best friend, isn't it a bit inappropriate for you to be encouraging me to disturb someone on their wedding night? I said flatly. Zoe was speechless. She never expected this kind of reaction from me. She was silent for a few seconds before saying anxiously, "Yes, what Vicky did, fake marrying Ethan, was a bit much. But it's already happened. Are you just going to do nothing? You two were together for 10 years. Are you really going to let her be with Ethan?" I pinched the bridge of my nose, wanting to laugh. "Did Victoria not tell you that I'm married now? Tonight is my wedding night too. I don't have time to worry about another man's wife." With that, I hung up. The next morning, I woke up and made breakfast for Serafina. As we were eating, Ethan suddenly called me. Sincere, Vicky's missing. You have to help me find her. I've looked everywhere nearby and I can't find her. I couldn't help but frown. What kind of hide-and-seek game were these two playing so early in the morning? I'm busy. As I spoke, I put some food on Serafina's plate. Ethan on the other end started yelling at me. Sincere, you're a real piece of work. Vicky cried all night yesterday because of you. And what were you doing? Spending time with another woman. Are you even human? If anything happens to Vicky, you'll be responsible for the rest of your life. I didn't bother listening anymore and just hung up. Serafina, however, had overheard the conversation. She looked at me searchingly. Maybe we should go look for her? No need. I didn't want anything to do with Victoria anymore. Knowing her, this was just another one of her dramatic attempts to control me. If I went to find her, the next step would be her escalating her demands, forcing me to obey her commands. Over the past 10 years, I had seen this kind of thing countless times. After breakfast, I went with Serafina for a walk nearby to buy some daily necessities. On the way back, Serafina suggested we take a stroll in the park up ahead. That park was where Victoria and I had first started dating. But since I had already moved on, I didn't feel the need to deliberately avoid it. During our walk, Serafina went to buy me a bottle of water. I walked ahead to the lake to wait for her and saw Victoria sitting on a bench looking at her phone. I didn't plan on saying anything, but she saw me. She quickly walked over. The moment she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. The next second, she threw herself into my arms, sobbing. You bastard, you're a bastard. I really thought you didn't want me anymore. You actually let me marry another man. You didn't even come to crash the wedding. You even married another woman. She cried and cried, her tears soaking my shirt. I tried to push her away, but she held on tight. After crying for a long time, Victoria finally calmed down. She looked at me with teary eyes. Dump that woman. Let's go get our marriage license. Let's get married. Seeing that she had finally composed herself, I said calmly, Vicky, we're over. Victoria's fragile composure shattered. She stared at me in disbelief, her voice trembling. What did you say? Sincere, are you breaking up with me? I nodded. We're both married now. Some things don't need to be spelled out. But you know my marriage to Eth is fake, Victoria interrupted frantically. I shook my head calmly. Real or fake, this is as far as we go. Just as I finished speaking, I saw Serafina returning with the water. I walked over, put my arm around her shoulder, and introduced her. Serafina. You've met. She's my wife now. Victoria stared at Serafina, tears streaming down her face. Sincere only married you to make me angry, she said desperately. Sincere loves me. Not you, it's because of me, because I insisted on helping someone else with a fake marriage that he got angry. If I just coax him a little, he'll make up with me. Serafina frowned at her and said coldly, when you were fake marrying someone else, did you ever think about his feelings? He's mine now, and I won't give you another chance. Victoria tried to say something else to me, but I took Serafina's hand and walked away. For the next few days, Victoria tried to corner me at home, but I never saw her. Until one morning, as soon as I opened the door, Victoria squeezed in and handed me a lunchbox. Sincere, I made you a special lunch. Won't you try it? Just then, Serafina came out of the kitchen, hearing the noise and saw the scene. I didn't want to take it, so Victoria opened the lid herself, revealing seafood porridge. Sincere, you love my cooking the most. Just have a taste, she said with a smile. She even said to Serafina, I was with Sincere for 10 years. I know his taste best. You don't have to make his breakfast anymore. Serafina frowned and couldn't help but interrupt. Sincere has been allergic to seafood since he was a child. Didn't you know? The smile on Victoria's face froze. Allergic to seafood? She looked at me in shock, as if seeking an answer. I gave a sarcastic smile. Yes, in 10 years together, Victoria had only cooked for me once. It was on my birthday during our first year together. She had made seafood porridge then too. I was afraid of disappointing her, so I secretly took allergy medicine, drank the entire bowl, and told her it was delicious. After that, she never cooked for me again, and throughout our 10 years together, every time we ate out, I would mention that I couldn't eat seafood. But Victoria always forgot. She would order it anyway, and the next time, she would order it again and ask me to eat it. I always thought she was just a bit careless and forgetful, until I saw her having dinner with Ethan once. She carefully told the waiter no cilantro, and when the waiter made a mistake and added it, she painstakingly picked every last bit of cilantro out for him. That's when I understood. She wasn't careless, she just reserved her care for certain people. Yes, I'm allergic to seafood, I said flatly. The disappointment I once felt was gone, replaced by a sense of inevitability. Victoria was stunned. She looked at me with a devastated expression. After a long moment, she said weakly, I'll remember from now on. Sincere, please forgive me, okay? I really know I was wrong. If you're willing, I'll delete Ethan's contact information and promise never to see him again. Before I could respond, Victoria's phone rang. She answered it, and her face immediately paled. What, Eth was in a car accident? I'm on my way. She was about to leave, but then remembered me and gave me an apologetic look. Eth really needs me right now. I promise I'll be right back. I won't give up on you. After Victoria left, I threw her special lunch in the trash. Just as I expected, Victoria spent the next 3 days with Ethan and didn't come to bother me. My relationship with Serafina gradually deepened. During this time, Victoria would still send me messages. Sincere, I can't get away right now. As soon as Eth's injuries heal, I'll marry you. Hurry up and leave that woman. I won't hold it against you, and so on. I finally got fed up and replied, stop bothering me. A long time later, she replied, Sincere, you'll regret this. That night, I saw Victoria's social media post. She had taken all our memories from the past 10 years, photos, love letters, gifts, and set them all on fire. The caption read, In the future, I'm all I need. A mutual friend commented, asking what had happened between us. Victoria replied that she had dumped me. Soon after, a friend called to ask me for confirmation. I just said gracefully that we weren't compatible and had broken up. In the days that followed, Victoria would frequently show off her blissful relationship with Ethan. I would always come across it unintentionally. Either I'd see them in the background of a mutual friend's video, or their posts would be pushed to my feed on social media. I always just scrolled past, feeling nothing at all. 6 months later, Serafina found out she was pregnant. I went with her to the hospital for a checkup and happened to run into Victoria in the hallway. She saw me from a distance, and tears immediately started streaming down her face. Her eyes couldn't seem to leave my face. Are you okay? She asked, her voice choked with emotion. I couldn't help but frown. I almost didn't recognize her. Victoria looked so haggard, as if she had aged several years. Sincere, I regret it so much. I thought if I was with Ethan, you would come back to me. But one wrong step led to another. Ethan. He's an animal. When he drinks, he gets violent. If I even mention your name, he hits me. You would never even dream of hurting me, she muttered to herself, tears streaming down her face. I only realize now how good you were, how you spoiled me and always gave in to me. And I just cared less and less about your feelings. Maybe this is my punishment. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. I once treated her like a precious treasure, never willing to even scold her, let alone hit her. I did all the housework, paid for all the expenses. It was a completely one-sided effort. No matter how out of line she was, I never said a harsh word to her. Because she was the girl of my dreams, and I wanted to protect her. But the man she chose for herself treated her like this. Now she regretted it, but it was too late. I know I don't deserve you anymore. I just want to apologize. Sincere, I'm sorry. I wasn't worthy of your love, Victoria said hoarsely, her face filled with remorse. When she looked at Serafina, her eyes were full of envy. You got a perfect man. I'm the one who lost him. She forced a bitter smile. Serafina looked at her with pity. After a long moment, she said, the future is long. People have to pay for their past, but they also have to have the courage to start over. Victoria looked at her with teary eyes, bit her lip, and nodded. Thank you. After Serafina and I left, I felt a faint, lingering sadness. To see the woman I once loved with all my heart end up like this, I couldn't help but feel a little wistful. If I hadn't given in so much back then, if she hadn't been so spoiled, maybe things would be different now. But there was no point in dwelling on any of that. Outside, the sky was blue and the water was clear. All I wanted was to cherish the present and live out the rest of my life.